Hey everyone, my guest today is Gregg Owen. Gregg is a former Chicago murder prosecutor who took a very unusual path to the courtroom. Before law school, he was a touring rock musician who performed across the Midwest and opened shows for bands like the Doors. A personal turning point led Gregg to leave music, cut his hair, and apply for an internship with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Within a few years, he was prosecuting murder cases in Chicago's 26th and California courthouse, eventually trying more than 60 jury trials, most of them homicides. Gregg's book, Convergence, tells the true story of a brutal double murder that was solved in days but didn't go to trial for 4 years. The case unfolded in the middle of a courthouse culture so corrupt it would later trigger the FBI's historic Operation Greylord investigation. Today, Gregg shares the behind-the-scenes realities of homicide trials, courtroom corruption, and the strange path that took him from rock stages to murder prosecutions. Welcome to the show, Gregg. I want to thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course. Now, you have a really interesting background. Would you be able to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you're working on, kind of how you got here?
Sure. Well, the funny thing about my background is when I was in the midst of it, I never considered it to be a unique background. It just sort of, I did what I was felt I should do. But I started out young at life as a musician. I was fortunate. I worked with really talented musicians. So by age 16, I was sort of touring, and I did that for almost 9.5 years. I had was in a couple of bands that had records and was in the studio a lot. And that was my first love, without question, music. And I had the hair on my shoulders, the whole, you name it, And so I had to go to college, of course, because this is a funny way to say why I went to college. But the truth is there was Vietnam War when I was young.
Okay.
And if you weren't in school, you could get drafted. So if you were in college, you got a certain deferment, but it was only good until you finished. So I went through all college and played and toured. My professors were very cool. And then when I got done, I was in a band called The American Breed at the time. We had a song called Bend Me, Shape Me Any Way You Want Me. Whoever remembers it. I opened up for the Doors, Janis Joplin, the Cream, Buffalo. I mean, a lot of big acts. I mean, I played on the same stage. So, I mean, I was the whole package. I was the quote unquote rock star person,
Yeah.
So then when I got out of college, I was fortunate, and there was a lottery where they sort of let everybody know at random who was going to possibly be drafted. My number was so high that I knew I was going to get drafted. So since the American Breed had broken up, my best friend Bill, he and I decided we're going to start a new band. So he said to me, well, while we're putting the band together, why don't you take some law classes? I'm like, law classes? Are you crazy? Like, what kind of law? We keep getting screwed by our managers, and they got lawyers. So I thought it was crazy. And after a couple of weeks, for some reason, I got the feeling, I talked to my mother at the time. Yeah, take some law. So I enrolled in law schools, and I enrolled in 4 of them. I got accepted all of them, which was a shock to me. So I started law school in January of 1971. And my first day of class, I asked the dean of students, I said, I have an unusual situation. He goes, well, you look like it. Everybody had suits and ties, and there was me with tie-dye shirts and patches on my pants, platform shoes, earring, braided hair. I mean, I was out there. So anyway, I said, could I go every other semester? Because I tour. And he let me do it. So it took me 5 years, but I went every other semester. And my last semester, there was a woman I was deeply in love with. And I was on tour, and she started having an affair with some other person who just so happened to be a drug dealer. So that was very, at the least, so depressing. And at the same moment, I started to question my own ability in the future, meaning that I couldn't sing. I wasn't a singer. And at that time, if you couldn't sing and being a keyboard player, you're sort of stuck. So one night when I was in the band, after this event with this woman, there was a piano bar, and there was a guy playing. And one of my bandmates said, "See, Greg, someday that'll be you." I'm like, "Nah, I don't want that to be me. I
Yeah.
can't even sing." So I was just about. It was in February of my last year of law school, and I was walking down the stairs in the law school, and there was a big bulletin board that had a lot of job opportunities. But at the very top of the board, there was a little 4x6 card that said, "Cook County State's Attorney's Office will be at the school tomorrow at 2 o'clock." Now, I didn't really know what a state's attorney was. And as
Okay.
I read that, told this many times, and my musician friends know, they heard it then. Something inside me was very powerful when it said, "You better do that. You better do that because you're going to end up killing yourself." And I'm like, I wasn't doing that drugs. I mean, and then it
Oh,
said it again to me as I'm standing there. It sort of scared me. Well, the third time, that was it. Talk
yeah.
about being moved. I went to the payphone, called my mother, said, "Could you get your friend to cut my hair tonight? And I need to get a
Yeah.
suit." She thought I was crazy. So that's what I did. And the next day I showed up for this interview with hair shorter, a lot shorter. And the guy said to me, "Well, can you start Monday as an intern?"
Mhm.
I'd never been in a courtroom. I never even had a traffic ticket. I didn't know
Oh,
anything.
geez.
So
Yeah.
I show
Yeah.
up in his courtroom, and it was like I was literally dropped from a space capsule onto a foreign planet. It was the opposite of my whole world. My world in 1
Right.
minute changed. So that's when I became a prosecutor as a first an intern, and then I went through the 6, 7 months, finished school, and took the bar exam, and was hired to be a full-fledged Cook County prosecutor in Chicago. And that's
Yeah.
when I first witnessed corruption beyond any human understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the band photos that you provided are really cool.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was the real deal. I mean, it wasn't pretend. I mean, I made a living. I mean, we
Yeah.
were paid well. I mean, we toured all the time. I played in every state, including Hawaii, except Alaska. And
Uh-huh.
even we played in Mexico, Canada, but something told me you got to change your life, and I did. I mean, you talk
Yeah.
about overnight. I had so it was a Thursday. I was interviewed. I had to play in the band that weekend.
Oh,
My hair
geez.
wasn't short,
Yeah.
short, but it was like over the top of my ears only, not like down to here like it had been. So
Yeah.
that was a little unusual. And then Monday, like I said, so when they say change overnight, I
Uh-huh.
can literally date. I know the date, I felt the vibe, and I know the date I was interviewed and the date I started, and it was all within 3 or 4 days. And,
That
after 2 weeks of doing that as an intern,
uh-huh.
I thought, I love this." I mean, I never had any intention to be a lawyer. I went to
Yeah.
school so I'd get the knowledge so we wouldn't get screwed by our managers,
Right.
which a lot
Right.
of musicians then were. So and then all of a sudden, I'm standing in front of people, and there's a judge and all the whole courtroom thing, and it was one of the busiest courtrooms in Cook County. I mean, there
Mhm.
was 200 cases a day, misdemeanors,
Right.
shoplifting, theft, possession of like a knife or a firearm,
Yeah.
gambling, you name it, okay? And after 2 weeks, I mean, something made me get good at it. I mean, I just took to it. I wasn't nervous. I had to learn the
Wow.
lingo, and I
Yeah.
went from there. And but one interesting aspect I want to bring up though before we get too deep, and that's this:
Okay.
the book Convergence is about how a number of people, events, and situations collide at a moment, at the right moment, and ended up resuscitating a case that was going to be buried. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is, on March the 3rd of 1976, I was taking the final day of the bar exam in Illinois. And the next day, I was going to Los Angeles to be with my old band, not that I was playing anymore, because they were going to be doing an album at the record plant, a famous studio in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And because it takes 2 months to get the results, well, at least it did, to get to whether you pass or not. So I figured, why should I
Okay.
just sit around at home? I'll go out there. So I'm taking the bar exam. I went to lunch and I heard a lot of sirens, a lot. I mean, more than I'm used to hearing. Didn't think much of it. Came back in, uh, got done. All I could think about is going to LA. I went home, and as I was getting home, it was about 6, and I saw it was dark. I saw the Daily News, Chicago Daily News, was
Mhm.
feeding papers into the box for the evening edition. and I happened to notice the headline said contractor actress found slain, and there was a side column, and I read a little bit of it, but I didn't have any change, so I wasn't gonna steal a newspaper. Not a good
Right.
thing to be doing when you're gonna be a prosecutor, stealing.
Right.
So I go in my house and I'm packing my clothes, my apartment, and, probably 35 minutes later, I get a call. It's my brother, and he said to me, "Greg, my brother's name is Jay." I said,
Mhm.
"Jay, what's up, man?" He goes, "I am so bummed out. You have no idea." I said, "Why?" He goes, "My friend and his girlfriend got murdered." I go, "What friend?" And he tells me a name. I never heard of this person. He goes, "Yeah, you probably don't know him. You're on tour, so you wouldn't." I didn't know most of his friends. And he
Yeah.
said, "Where did this happen?" He goes, "Not too far from where you live." I go, "You're kidding me." And I said, "Wait a second. Was your friend a contractor?" He goes, "No, his dad owned a
Yeah.
big contracting firm." Was the girlfriend an actress? Yeah, she just finished acting school in Chicago, Goodman Theater acting school, at theater school. And I said, "I just saw the headline." Well, 4 years later, I prosecute that case. So what
Wow.
happened when I was taking the bar exam, and it took 4 years for ever to come to trial. And the things that occur between that point and the 4 years are almost impossible to believe. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're all true. I mean, every single thing is true. So, I mean, the struggle, how I ended up with the case, what the corruption that had already been taking place. I mean, how about
Mhm.
this? So a person is accused of double murder, stabbing.
Right.
Within 3 days, the person's arrested, right? Could you imagine that person be given a low bond to walk the streets for 4 years?
No.
How would that occur? Why would a judge grant a bond of no more than $25,000 to a double murderer, and then have that case assigned to a court facility that never had murder cases? But what did it have? It had a judge who was close friends with his defense attorney. Now, how do you think that all those coincidences took place? That's about
Right.
money. Now, the
Yeah.
defendant was multi-millionaire. They were all young,
Yeah.
24, 22, and 24. Everybody was young. And the defendant was wealthy. I mean, he was a well-known family, and yet he commits double murder and he gets a bond, and he's been walking free for 4 years. That in itself is like sort of a it sort of represents the level of corruption that was taking place around me every single day while I was a prosecutor. I mean, it was just rampant. And this was just another example of how people are just paying people to get things taken
Yeah.
care of in Chicago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow. So does Convergence cover that 4-year gap?
yeah, it sure does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, another interesting point, it introduces a real person whose name is
Mhm.
Terry Hake. Now, Terry Hake
Okay.
was a younger prosecutor than myself and my partner, Mike Goggin. And he used to come and watch us when he was starting out because we were well known. I mean, me and my partner and I were well known. We had never lost a case. I'd already tried like 41 murder jury trials by the time this case came upon me. But
Okay.
anyway, so Terry was on his way up and he got assigned to a courtroom and he was working under my partner had been transferred and was a boss now. And he was working for my partner in this court facility. And one day my partner calls me and says, "Greg, you got to get over here." I said, "Why?" He said, "Don't ask any questions. Just come over here." So I go from where I'm at to where they are. And in his office is this guy, Terry, who's sitting on the couch. He's almost in tears. I'm like, "What's going on with this guy, man?" And I said, "Terry, what's wrong with you?" He goes, "Man, I
Yeah.
can't take it anymore. I can't take the crooks, the slime balls, the payoffs. I just can't. I can't do this. I mean, I said, Terry, we've all been through this, man. I mean, what are we going to do about it?" He goes, "I don't want to do this anymore." I'm thinking, ooh. So my partner and I agree. We're going to send him across to our boss's offices. Mike took him there, and then we never heard another word. Months later, he comes back into the system, but now he's a crook. He's a
Right.
slime ball himself. What had happened was he was recruited by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office to go undercover, and they called him the Mole. He wore a wire
Oh,
24/7 for 4 years. So all the book takes place, all these events take place while I'm still a prosecutor, right? And
yeah.
it's called the actual federal designation was Operation Greylord. It was the
Okay.
largest investigation and ultimately conviction of judicial personnel in the history of America. 16 judges went to federal prison, 47 lawyers, 8 court clerks, like 9 deputy sheriffs. I mean, that's how bad it was. And
Yeah.
they ended it. They ended the corruption for the most part, but there was still plenty of people out there, but weren't willing to do it anymore. But they were crooked. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's in the book. I mean, we actually illustrate what drove this person. And like I said, if your listeners or viewers look up
Mhm.
Terry Hake, Hake, you'll
Okay.
see what I mean. I mean, he's all over the place, and that was somebody that came to us and didn't know what to do. And
Yeah.
I never thought about going to the FBI myself because we couldn't prove it because we
Right.
knew it. You know, how you know something, but you can't really just come out and prove it, but you know it. It was like that, but they turned him so he could prove it. So he'd meet with crooked judges, have a wire on. He'd say, "Well, how much is it going to cost me, Judge?" "Oh, $500." He tape recorded everybody. He testified for about 10 years straight after in this trial.
Wow.
Yeah, trial after trial after trial. So that's
Yeah.
part of the story too. I mean, it was not just that we had this old case, but we had to deal with the most corrupt system. And we had evidence in that case that somebody had stolen. Evidence
Mhm.
was important. And this guy had the defendant. He had 3 of the best lawyers there ever were in Chicago as a team. And they were all they were mob lawyers. They had
Uh-huh.
represented Jimmy Hoffa, Sam, big mafia figures, even Murr Daly at the time for a while. So we were up against
Yeah.
some serious competition, to say the least, in the trial itself. But
Right.
what it went through, what we went through to get that case even in a posture to bring it to trial. Mike and I years ago said someday we got to do a book about this because this is almost hard to believe. Um,
Yeah.
so my partner passes away just as we start writing the book 4
Oh,
years ago.
no. Oh,
Yeah, that
no.
was so. It's all everything I do now is dedicated to Mike. We were the best. We were the best friends and best trial team, and he just didn't live long enough to get to see this happen, which is a
Yeah.
shame. So
Yeah.
so that's what's going to be. The other thing is how many times have you, say, or most people, read a true crime book told from the prosecutor's perspective, told from our
Yeah.
side?
Yeah, that's rare that you hardly it's usually, like, the criminal or the wrongly accused person's
Right,
side.
exactly. The
Yeah.
defense attorney or commentators who looked at a case by reading transcripts
Yeah.
and then they talk about it. This is a little different.
Yeah.
This is quite different. In fact, I'm not only the prosecutor, I'm telling the story. I mean, I'm telling what we did literally. One thing, if you've ever watched true crime on TV,
Mhm.
or not true, as more like a trial, a live streaming trial, you'll
Okay.
notice that during the course of a trial, lawyers will say, "Judge, I like a sidebar. I like this. I like
Yeah.
this. I like to approach the court." And in Cook County, when we were trying cases, if you had a sidebar, you'd go in the judge's chamber so the jury couldn't hear what was being said. Well,
Right.
sidebars, which when you watch on TV, you don't hear what's being said. You never know what did they say back. What were they talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most interesting thing. More occurs in sidebars that occurs on the courtroom floor. I mean, that's where law is made or law is misinterpreted or the arguments. I mean, they get heated. I mean, they're you come out of the courtroom, you're
Yeah.
back so dignified. You're back there, you're like, what? You're mad. And so
Yeah.
in the book, we go into every witness. They tried to throw us off during the trial. So one young woman I put on. They objected to me 31 times in 45 minutes.
Oh my god.
That's like every minute they're objecting for
Oh,
nothing. They would just thought we were young. They didn't realize how experienced we were, that would throw our
yeah.
cadence off. It's like when you call a timeout before somebody's going to kick a field goal. They want
Right.
to freeze the kicker. That's what they were trying to do to us.
Yeah. Yeah, break up your momentum.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. Wow. So, did it take 4 years to reach trial because of all the evidence gathering, or why why was that a 4-year path, I guess?
Okay, well, the guy's arrested. Like I say,
Mhm.
the case, he gets out on bond. They sign it to a court building where now what was it? They call that a heater case, meaning that it was the front page news for 5 or 6 days in Chicago when it happened. I mean, it was
Okay.
people knew about it. but after a period of time, it's like everything else in the media, it sort of goes away. You don't remember it. Well, they got
Yeah.
this case assigned to a court facility that never, I don't think never did and never still has had murder cases, and to this one judge. So what would happen? They brought it to that courtroom, and then they were asking, just continuance after continuance after continuance,
Mhm.
thinking we had no DNA, no, that didn't exist. We had no fingerprints,
Right.
we had no shoe prints, we had nothing, zero, no weapon. So the only thing we had was one witness, the eyewitness, who was
Okay.
there at the time of these murders. It was part of a drug deal. And
Okay.
he didn't want to testify now. He was taking the fifth. He felt if we didn't win this murder case, we'd prosecute him for drugs.
Right.
So
Right.
we end up with a case where the only witness won't testify. Evidence that was recovered has been disappeared during the course of the 4 years because somebody was paying somebody off, and they were making
Yeah.
motions for things that were outrageous. In fact, one of them was a motion to suppress evidence that was seized after a search warrant was issued. Well,
Mhm.
the judge in this case said, "Yeah, you're right, defense attorneys. They had no right to this. I'm throwing all this evidence out." So it took a year to take it to the appellate court, who said, "No, that judge is wrong. You can use all the evidence." Well, by the time
Okay.
the people got ready to use it, was gone. It was physically gone. And so it just lingered and lingered and lingered. And pretty soon, my office, not unbeknownst to me, was going to dismiss the case because they had no evidence. The only witness was taking the fifth, which means that he wouldn't testify because he didn't want to incriminate himself. Well, if that
Right.
you have no case. You have no case. There is no case. And
Yeah.
we had to reconstruct something that was, and it was going to be literally dropped because first, here's something that's interesting. So my brother calls me 4 years after the murder, and he says to me, "You know that
Mhm.
case of my friends?" I go, "No, not really." I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, your office is going to throw it out." I go, "That's impossible. We don't just dismiss a double murder." "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they're telling the family." He said to me, "Would you look into it?" So I did, and I found out where it was. I went over to the court building. I looked everywhere. Finally found one prosecutor. We went and looked
Mhm.
under the desk of somebody, and under the desk was the case file for this case. It literally had dust on it. I mean, that's not an exaggeration.
Oh.
They didn't care. And one of the things that I was told right away by one of these other prices, "Well, Greg, why are you so interested in this? They were just a bunch of drug addicts anyway." So because the victims had been doing drugs, they didn't deserve to have a trial. They didn't deserve. They felt that who cares? A bunch of drug
Right.
dealers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
me coming from a band, okay, let's face it, I wasn't pure as the driven snow when I was young either.
Right.
Well, well, I mean, let's be frank. I mean, I grew up in the hippie age and all that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could never do things like other people because I was in school all the time. But I've been around it plenty. I mean, plenty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and for me to sit and hear somebody say that maybe somebody I might have known who was murdered and say, "Oh, we don't care about that person because he was doing some coke or smoking pot or something," it rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, it just seemed like, "Are you kidding me?" I didn't say that,
Right.
but that's what I felt. So when I saw the file and I took everything out, it was just a mess. And I looked at the picture of this defendant. He was 24 years old at the time. White
Mhm.
guy, handsome, basically. I'm thinking, are we going to let this guy walk in a double murder because he's rich and all this money and power?
Right.
And it just something again motivated me to say no. So I called my boss. I said, could Mike and I take this case and have it transferred back to where it belongs? If you can do it, go right. Nobody wanted the case. There was no case. So I
Yeah.
did. And then I spent good 3 months convincing that eyewitness to testify. That was a struggle in itself.
Oh, I bet.
We ended
Yeah.
up we got to the point where we had a couple witnesses. We had the defendant made some statements that hurt him, and but we couldn't tie the victims to the defendant. There was nobody that could say they'd ever seen them together until I found a small sticky note buried in the bottom of a file. And the sticky note had the name of a guy. His name was Bill Wright. It said pilot, had a phone number and the name of a flying service that operated out of Midway Airport in Chicago. So as I'm looking
Okay.
at this note, this is what I mean by convergence,
Yeah.
coincidence. I've got it in my hand. I'm just looking at it and briefly, and all of a sudden, one of my investigators walks up and he sees me looking. He goes, "Oh, I know the guy that owns that flying service. He went to high school with me." What? We didn't know what the note meant.
Wow.
So we get in the car, we drive over to the airport, and we find his friend who's got a charter service. We go into his office, and I say, I don't know if this means anything. I said, I just found this, and he goes, oh, yeah, I know Billy Wright. I so you do? He goes, yeah, he used to work for me. Well, when was that?
Mhm.
And he tells me back at the time of these killings. And he said, what's this all about? So I told him about the case, and he goes, well, what date was this? I said, well, it was like March 1st or so. So he goes and he starts opening file drawers. And when you
Mhm.
take a charter flight, you have an itinerary, and you have to let the pilots know who's going to be in the plane, what's your age and weight and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he finds an itinerary for, it would have been Saturday, I believe, February 28th. Now, the murders took March. Now, this was a leap year, so there was 29 days in February. So this would have been on
Yeah.
a Saturday. So he says, yeah. He says, Bill had a charter. He flew Gio Messino, the male victim, Tinker Moore, Delphine Moore, the female victim, and the defendant, Mitchell Wanger. The four of them with the pilot flew to Lake Geneva. Now, I assume they were up there to buy some dope.
Uh-huh.
So we were like, oh my gosh, we can at least prove that they were ever together, but we need Bill Wright. He goes, well, that's going to be a problem. Oh, I said, oh, no, now tell me he's passed away. No, 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 no. He's in Tennessee. He was flying. Became a drug smuggler, and he flew a big 4-engine prop plane from Guatemala to Chicago, and something went wrong, and he crash landed in a field into eastern Tennessee, and he was arrested, taken into
Oh my
custody,
gosh.
and he was looking at life in jail. I'm like, are you kidding
Wow.
me? So I called my partner Mike. I said, we got to go to Tennessee and just see what.
Yeah.
Right up. So we did. We
Oh my
did, and we met Bill Wright, and he was in jail, and he was looking at life. And let me just shorten the whole thing and say this. So we go back to the jail where the sheriff is, and he goes, so could that old boy over there help you out? I go, oh boy, he would be a major help. He goes, well, hold on a second. He makes a phone call. We don't know who he's talking to. He gets off the phone. I mean, he's talking to somebody. He goes, well, you missed our family reunion. And I'm like, what is this guy nuts? We're standing and he's talking family reunion. He goes, well, hold on a second. I got these two boys here. And he looks up at me. He goes, what's your name? I said, Gregg Owen. Mike says, Mike Geiger. He goes, yeah, why don't you
Uh-huh.
talk to them? So he goes to hand us the phone, and I was the closest. So I grab him and I go, hi, this is Gregg Owen, Assistant State's Attorney from Chicago, Cook County. He goes, well, Greg, this is the governor of the great state of Tennessee. His cousin was the governor of Tennessee.
Oh my gosh.
He says, tell me. He says, he says, now, Greg, I don't know if that fool I was just talking to me and his cousin told me it right, but could you tell me again what happened and why is this so important? So I ran it by him. He goes, well, give that phone back to that rascality, and he gave us some funny name. So the sheriff took the phone, and then the sheriff hands it back to me. He goes, okay, Greg, here's what we can do. We're going to drop he had 7 tons of pot and 100 pounds of cocaine, 7
Oh my
tons
gosh.
in this plane when he crashed. So they recovered it all. It started on fire, but they got a lot of it. So he
Yeah.
says, here's what we're going to do for you. If that Billy boy or Billy Wright, we'll bring him up to Chicago, and if he testifies like you want him to, I go, oh, no, Sheriff. If he tells the truth. And he goes, yeah,
Mhm.
I get you, So I say, yeah. He goes, we'll cut the charges down to a minor amount, give him 2 years. He's already served 9 months. It's day for day credit. That means by the time you're in trial, shortly thereafter, he'll be free.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Wow.
They brought him to Tennessee for the trial, and he testified. I mean, that was
Wow.
a huge, to think that we found one of the most important witnesses, maybe not even 2 months before the trial began, because of a sticky note, which was stuck to the bottom of a file that I never even knew was there.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Yeah. And I don't imagine he'd be so willing to testify if he wasn't kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place like
Well,
that.
can I tell you why, though? I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
He told us why. Because when I walked up to
Okay.
him, he was in a cage, like me and my partner walked in with the
Mm-hmm.
deputy. And he looked up at us and he walked up and he thought maybe we're at the FBI or something. I said, no, we're from Cook County, Chicago. He goes, and he put his head down like he was sad. He goes, well, let me tell you, what's your name again? I said, Greg. He goes, well, here's what happened. I flew them up to Lake Geneva. Gio got out of the plane. He was sitting in the front. It's a 4-passenger. So the defendant and the girlfriend were in the back seat. He said when Gio got out of that plane, they started making out. His girlfriend was making out with the killer.
Oh.
Yeah. He says, and when Gio got back in the plane, I wanted to tell him, but you know how it is. Sometimes when you tell people stuff, they make it look like you did something. He says, and I put it off because it was only 2 days later he was dead. So he says, I have felt bad all these years that I didn't say something. I might have saved his life.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. I mean,
this is like a movie.
It is. I mean, the whole thing. For us flying to Tennessee, that sheriff was right out of some country western story or something. How y'all doing? You talk like that,
Yeah.
So it was, and I guess what it is, we persevered. I mean, we didn't give up. I mean, we felt we had a duty to give those victims a voice, give them a seat at that table because they weren't there to speak for themselves. And so we did,
Right.
And the way what I had to go through to get people to testify, it was like, oh my gosh. In fact, when the murder took place, it was about 12:30 in the morning on March the 1st into the 2nd. The girl was screaming, and these apartments were close together. 3 people said they heard her screaming but didn't call the police.
Oh, no.
Screaming for her life, and nobody cared. Very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad. I mean, that gives you a good picture of what a lot of, and this was back then. I mean, I thought maybe people were more neighborly, but I guess they weren't.
Right.
Nobody called anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there's that, oh, I don't want to be a bad neighbor and call the cops if there's nothing actually happening.
Yeah, she's screaming, son of a this and this. I mean, and the neighbors all testified, not testified, they told the police, yeah, she was screaming so loud for her life. She's being stabbed to death.
That's
we stabbed her 7 times in the back with a butcher knife, 11 inches.
Oh my
One
God.
went through her back all the way out the front.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And why did he kill them?
Well, that's the ultimate question. To this day, as I sit here right now, these people were friends.
Yeah.
They were friends, but there was a witness there at the same time who didn't know the guy that was did not know about who the killer was and never seen him before, even though he
Okay.
was. So fact now you understand something. So the victim Geo, he was a friend of my
Mhm.
brother's. He was a
Mm.
friend of this guy Cedric, the witness. He was a friend of the killer, but
Okay.
my brother never saw him with those other people, and he had like a separate little entourage of people that he would befriend, and he wouldn't bring them together, So
Right.
nobody ever
Right.
saw the guy. So she's screaming, "Mitch, Mitch, Mitch," as he's stabbing her boyfriend, and then this guy, the witness, runs out of the place, doesn't want anything to do with it.
Oh,
I
yeah, I'd
mean,
be scared,
no, yeah, I mean
like,
it's pretty scary. I mean,
wow.
how about this? How about if you just witnessed a murder? It's
Oh
say
god.
15 minutes after you've left, and you go see your girlfriend who's working in a well-known club in Chicago. And she says, "We got to call the police, okay?" So you call the police, you tell them what happened, then you go back
Uh-huh.
up to the crime scene 20 minutes later, and there's no police there.
Wh So when did the police finally show up?
2 days later, when the guy's father found him in the apartment dead, it was her apartment.
Oh
No, the
my
police, the operator thought it was a prank. Yeah.
seriously?
Oh yeah,
That
we have the tape. See, the reason this guy got so freaked out is when the killer was in the bathroom when he killed the first person, the male, Geo.
Uh-huh.
He stabs him, and there's this loud, oh, like his air come out of his body, lungs.
Yeah.
And what happened then was Cedric, the male witness, he says, "Come out of there, come out of there." And he goes, "No, I'm not coming anywhere. I'm the police," he says. And I just gave the signal, and my friends will be, my partner backup will be here. So now there's
Mhm.
cocaine being transacted. So this guy's all afraid. Oh, I don't want to be tied to this. So he
Right.
leaves. So now think about this. Somebody tells you he's the police. You get downtown and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, that was probably crazy. I shouldn't have left. He's not the police, right?" That's what you would
Right.
think. Get yourself together. So he
Yeah.
goes and makes the call to the police, drives back up there, and there's no police. Now you're starting to think maybe he was the police. Maybe it's a big cover up. That's what he thought at the time. I mean,
Yeah.
scared him.
Okay.
I mean, because the guy says he's the police, which he wasn't, which I
Right.
thought was pretty good presence of mind for inept to be able to say that. And then when he calls the police and reports it, he goes back and they don't show up. People don't know how the system works. They hear that and they,
Mhm.
they see TV shows. They're thinking maybe the cops are all in on this.
Right. Right.
So it was bad. Yeah, they didn't find their bodies until almost 2 days later.
Oh my
His
gosh.
father,
Yeah.
the father of the male victim, Geo worked for his father in the contracting business, and the guy was always on time for work, did a good job, and his father hadn't heard from him. There was no cell phones in those days for two
Right.
days, and that was totally unusual. So the father felt, well, maybe I'll drive downtown to where his girlfriend lives and see maybe he's there. I don't know why he wouldn't contact us. So he gets
Yeah.
there, and he can't get in. The janitor's there, and he begs the janitor to open the door to the apartment. After a lot of pleading, finally the janitor does, and there he finds the girlfriend and his son in the pools of blood, dead.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it
I
was
can't
pretty tragic.
imagine.
No, it was very tragic.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, what a life at
Um
29, 30 years old. That's what I was dealing with.
Yeah, wow, that's especially with, I mean, I'm assuming those were all people close to your age as well. I
Yep,
feel like that's harder to
they were.
process, you
Yeah, I mean,
know?
when these people the male got stabbed, he was 24, I was 25 at that time.
Oh my gosh,
I
yeah.
mean, so when I tried the case 4 years later, I was 29, almost 30. So all the
Mhm.
witnesses were my age.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so
I Yeah, I would be more connected to the aside from the connection with your brother, just the fact that they're all around your age,
yes, yep.
yeah.
Everybody was white, whatever that means, but so there wasn't that anxiety of the jury selection. I mean, it was
Okay.
and there were black jurors on the jury. I mean, I never cared about that anyway. I thought people are people, and they don't want
Yeah.
people killing people. So, but regardless, yeah, it was Well, we by that age, I'd tried 41 murder jury trials, so I was pretty mature
Yeah.
for a young person, you get
Yeah.
thrust into that stuff.
That's so many in such a short period of time.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that we had so many the murder rate in Chicago was the highest I think it's ever been. It was like 891 murders the year I tried this case.
Wow. What's one of the most important things you learned through this career about, like, humans and how they interact with each other or in the courtroom?
I would say the most important things that I got out of this was, um, if you believe deeply in something, really believe deeply, you have a
Mhm.
duty to move forward and carry on and do your duty. And our duty was to prosecute criminals. And as many people didn't want to see this case go to trial, motivated me even more. So I think I learned how to talk to people, how to
Yeah.
sort of try to read how they're reacting to what I'm saying and look more from behind their eyes rather than my own and try to understand like witnesses. I mean,
Yeah.
being a witness on a murder case is a pretty scary proposition. I mean, you're stepping on that witness stand, and there's the judge, and there's a jury, and there's all kinds of people, and there's the bad guy, and you've got to stand up, sit up there, and you got to point somebody out, and
Yeah.
then you got to withstand a brutal cross examination where the defense attorney is trying to rip your throat out. I mean, he's just trying to
Yeah.
destroy you. And so it's a very having never been in that position, of course, be a witness. I'm a prosecutor. Um,
Mhm.
One woman described it this way. She said, when I had my first child, I went into labor and they realized that I would need a C-section. She couldn't have the baby. So they put me on a gurney and they wheeled me into this really bright room, the operating room. She
Yeah.
goes, and there was all these people, and I didn't know who anybody was, and I was drowsy because they had given me something, and then it was sort of scary, because I didn't know what to expect. And she said, it was sort of like when I walked into the courtroom because all these bright lights, everybody's looking at me, except in an operation, when it's over, you come to and you're not in it anymore. It
Right.
doesn't end. When you're on the witness stand, you get up and say what you got to say. Somebody's going to cross examine you and they're going to try to humiliate you and make you look like a liar or just a dumb person. And
Yeah.
so it's very difficult. I mean, I learned to respect people under tension. I learned to
Mhm.
respect people who that we all don't we go through life and we've all got our own problems and to be aware of that. Don't live your life thinking you're the only one who's got problems. There's plenty of
Right.
people that have serious problems. And it was really magnified because of the level of the gravity of the seriousness we're talking about. So I
Yeah.
think that was a big thing for me and to and to appreciate the justice system when it works right, you know,
Yeah.
because most of the time it does, but when it doesn't, it's a tragedy. And yeah, it taught me to think like somebody else, to think from both sides of a point, and
Mhm.
to appreciate, like defense attorneys, for example. I didn't dislike them because they were defense attorneys. That was their job. They were doing what they were supposed to do, as long as they weren't doing crooked stuff.
Right.
So I learned to respect the other side. I mean, whoever it may
Yeah.
be, as long as they do it within the confines of what's legal. That was fine with me. I understood that's their role, and so even my throughout the course of my life, I've always appreciated other people and what they do, and respect them for whoever they are, and don't ever think for a second you're better than anybody else. You're not.
Right.
You know,
Right.
maybe you have a more closest to your God, whatever, but for the most part, we're all the same. It's just how we handle the gifts that we've been given.
Mhm.
And so I felt my life I've been given a lot of gifts. And so therefore it
Yeah.
is my duty to use those in the most positive way possible. And
Yeah.
I felt that my whole life. So ever
Yeah.
since that time, when I became a prosecutor, my life changed because then I realized you have a higher calling than just out there, having a good time and rocking and
Yeah.
rolling. It's a big change.
Yeah. More of a mission, and then there's more
Yep.
people counting on you.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it's not all the thrill, like in a band, it
yeah.
was all like, "Oh, this is so cool, man. Look at all these people." It's not
Yeah.
like that. You don't go in the courtroom in a murder trial as a prosecutor, "Oh, look at all these people."
Right.
That's the
Right.
last thing you think. So it
Yeah.
gets you, you grow up dramatically in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it stuck with me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of changing in a short period of
It
time.
sure was. But at the time, like I said, I look back at it now and I talk this way and I go, "Are you kidding, Greg?" You know, really? I mean, you did all that? Yeah, I did. I mean,
Right.
and when you're in the midst of it, you just sort of go with it. Your
Yeah.
gut, or you're inspired to do it, and you do it. And then when you look back and you go, that was pretty amazing. I was really blessed. I felt that I couldn't have done anything better with my life than make that change at that moment. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Okay, I have a random question for you. Something I've kind of always wondered about. So when you see lawyers questioning witnesses and they're being like you explained, they're going to try and make you look dumb, try and
yep,
trip you up.
yep.
To me, it looks like some of them are just outright rude. So, the witness, what rights do they have as far as their responses go? Because I personally am not nice to people if they're not being nice to me, and I would have the hardest time staying. I mean, I would my words would be professional, but my tone would absolutely not be professional.
And
Something.
that's a good point. Now you have to say, when you put a witness on the witness stand as a prosecutor, you
Mhm.
have to prepare them for cross examination.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
what we would tell them first is this: we would say, the first thing, do not get hung up on his tone or her tone.
Okay.
That let that go. Just answer the question and don't give a narrative. Just, if it's a yes or no, yes or no. And remember, it's his job to try to trip you up. Okay. It's your job to tell the truth, period. That's it. And we'd say to them, when you're asked a question, regardless of the question, you count 1001, 1002 in your head. It gives us a chance
Okay.
to object. So maybe they don't have to be subjected to bad questioning and crazy stuff. So we would teach them that, and we would tell them, do not buy into his shtick. You know,
Okay.
I mean, but you have to prepare people this. If it was many cases, we would bring a witness into the courtroom before there was court or after court. Nobody was there, and we put them on the witness stand. And one of us, we did this with every witness. One of
Mhm.
us would always be the cross examiner. We would
Okay.
say, "Here's what it's going to be like," and we would act out the role, and we would tell them, "Now that feels pretty offensive, doesn't it?" Yeah, I said, "Okay." Now you know it's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not the point. The point is, you're there to give the truth. Don't let him screw you up. And if you don't understand, make it clear. I do not. And if you can, now a lot of witnesses were good at this. If you don't understand a question, you look to the judge and you say, "Judge, I don't understand that question," because then the judge starts to take your side.
Oh,
It's
okay.
trying cases is tactical and strategic. It's not just get out there and do it. You try to
Yeah.
use what you can, because who ultimately decides whether or not you should answer that question, or whether or not you understand the question? It's the judge. He makes the
Yeah.
call. So look to the judge. Don't look at us. Don't look at us like, "Oh, what do I do now?" You look to
Okay.
the judge and you just take your time. And if you don't understand the question, I just don't understand your question. I said, the guy
Okay.
may come back, "Well, how can you not understand the question? It's so simple." I go, "Then what's your response to that? Sir or ma'am, I still don't understand your question." And if you have to say it 1,000 times, they're going to come back again and go, "Well, where'd you learn the word understand?" I mean, they'll say nasty that have nothing to do with the case, just to
Mhm.
get you riled up. It's because what they do, that is, you start getting so tense, you'll say something you don't really mean.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, think about it. If you're on the witness stand and you're saying something, I say to you, "What do you mean by that? What are you talking about?" Now, all that stuff is objectionable. But
Uh-huh.
see, the lawyers will throw that in real quick before we have a chance to object, because you're not
Okay.
supposed to say that, but they do. I mean, they do. They want to rattle your cage. That's
Yeah.
their job.
Yeah.
And it's it's very unique.
Yeah.
That's why in a courtroom setting, the only time the word art is ever used is it's using the phrase the art of cross examination
Mhm.
because it is an art. I mean, for a
Oh,
defense
yeah.
attorney, that's their case.
Yeah.
That they're
Yep.
a lot of times they don't call any witnesses. They don't call anybody. Their case is won or lost on cross examination of the state's witnesses.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they have to be good at that. So they get real good at it. And then we as prosecutors, we also go out of our way to learn. We don't cross examine quite as many people because they don't call witnesses. You know,
Yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
skill set. That we learned how to prepare witnesses. Now we would, like I said, we would always practice cross examinations on every witness so that they understood what they're going to be dealing with.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I would definitely be a hothead. I'd
Well,
have to practice a lot.
we would get you. We would be aware of that because we would question you in such a way that it would
Yeah.
get you mad. And
Yeah.
and then we would say something like, "Okay, Sam, here's the deal. Um, we're here and you're here to make sure that that guy goes to jail for what he did, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So what
Yeah.
you're going to have to do is ignore the insults, ignore the tone, because if you don't, he might not be going to jail because we need you to do a strong
Yeah.
job." And we say to him, when we ask you questions, meaning the prosecution, we call you first, and you answer with a certain tone. I'd say, "So, Sam, what time in the afternoon would you think you saw the defendant walk out of that store?" And you'd say, "Oh, it was about 2 o'clock." And then we go on like that, and you just give real nice answers. Now, when the defense attorney gets up there and starts insulting you, you got to answer with the same tone. You can't start
Yeah.
getting snarky with him. The jury picks that up. Jurors don't know. They think, "Oh, I see. She's not so nice now, is she?" Well, you're really a
Right.
decent person. So we got to maintain that because that's important to the jury testing or evaluating your credibility.
Mhm.
So I'd say, do not change your tone.
Right.
Do not
Yeah.
talk different. Forget forget his tone. I say, just in your head, what was the question? Da 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 da, and then answer it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, forget the part about, well, Sam, why would you say why would you ever come up with that? Forget that. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah. Yeah.
why would you come up with that? That's what it is. That's just, why would you come up with that? You say, well, because of this, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if you start getting affected by his tone, you'll screw up the case.
Yeah. 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 I'd have to definitely rephrase it in my head in a
Yeah.
nicer tone.
Oh yeah. As best you can.
Yeah. All right. So if someone were to pick up a copy of Convergence, what would you hope that they walk away with?
They would walk away with it understanding that in today's world, we all have challenges and we see things that we don't think are right.
Mhm.
And too many people sit back and don't say anything. They just let it happen. And they don't stick up for our value system or what we're supposed to do as people, as Americans. And I would
Yeah.
say it shows what can happen when you do not let yourself be overwhelmed by stuff that you don't like, that you think is bad. And yet you say, that's wrong. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to listen to that, and be willing to put yourself out there to do the right thing. Because it's one thing to think the right thing, but it's another thing to say the right thing. And I think
Mhm.
people today, depending on their political bend, you know, well, let's put it this way. It seems to me that the activists that we see are coming from one direction, right? You
Mhm.
don't really see those people from the other direction because you
Right.
see, they don't want to be engaged in that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, sometimes you have to. Like what just happened in England, I thought was a great example of people finally
Yeah.
standing up for themselves. I don't know if you know about that.
I
This
yes,
young
I
man was stabbed to death and they're handcuffing him.
yeah, and I you can tell in the video that he's bleeding to death.
Yeah.
His hands are so pale and they're handcuffing him. It's like and he was stabbed how many times? And
Oh,
There
yeah.
I can't believe
I mean,
that.
because the police were so indoctrinated that, oh, if anybody says anything anti this or anti that or race, I mean, even a hint of it, oh, you got to arrest that person. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy that killed him stabbed him, and this guy didn't say anything to him. And yet,
Yeah.
once the police heard a person of color or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call different, once they accuse somebody, it's like you're guilty, and then you got to prove that you're not. So he was guilty, as far as they were concerned, stabbed or not. They
Yeah.
didn't care. I mean, it was nice to see the British people march in such great numbers to say, if we don't get some common sense back in this place, we're doomed.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
I hope I hope they keep it up, and
same thing here. I mean, it's going to
yeah.
be interesting when this case is taking place in Texas, where that student got stabbed by another student,
Yes.
and when they
Yes.
they selected a jury. Now, there's people of color, there's
Mhm.
Asian, there's Latino, but there's nobody black. Well,
Okay.
whatever the outcome is, let's say it's a guilty, there's going to be all kinds of protests about that,
Right. Right.
and I've found oftentimes, especially today, white people are sometimes more sympathetic than people of color to their own race. I mean, if I'm a white person on a jury, I want to make sure that I don't come off as a racist, and I maybe give this whatever color person more of the benefit of the doubt. I think it's almost the opposite of what people think. I do not
Yeah.
think people per se, white or whatever. I mean, black people, they'll convict somebody as quick as a white person. I mean, I don't see
Mhm.
that as a big issue like they've seemed to make it to be. But it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens after this trial is finished.
Yeah. Yeah, I am interested to see how that will work out
Yeah, I
as
know.
well. It's it's a crazy world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
It's
is. But
all right.
if your people want to be really captivated by the inner workings of an investigation, a
Mhm.
prosecution, of corruption, of just not giving up and succeeding, you know,
Yeah.
and and and, and breathing life back into a case that
Yeah.
ultimately results in justice. That's a big thing
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do feel a shift occurring.
I
Let's
do
hope
too,
it stays on
but
track.
I hope it continues.
I do too. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Where can everybody find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Gregg Owen 26th. It's GREGGOWEN 26th, 26th. And
Okay.
on internet, our website is 26th Street Books, T26 Street, common spelling,
Yeah.
books, 26th Street Books.com. That's our website. And more, I'm on YouTube and everything, but mainly I've never been on social media before in my life. So I set up
Yeah.
a, I set up an Instagram account and I got like 106,000 followers. I was shocked, in 9 months,
Oh,
8 months.
wow.
That's quite a few
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And because people are interested in this. They're interested in,
Oh, yeah.
in justice and having justice be served the way it should be. And
Yeah.
that's another thing that gives me hope because that's a lot of people in a
Yeah.
short period of time for somebody they never heard of before now, me.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's that I do think I've heard of the song that you talked about
Yeah.
at the beginning of this episode. So
Femi
I'm gonna
shaped
go
me.
listen to that.
I was a young 17, 18-year-old at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I will include all the links in the show notes and I'll find you on social media.
Thank you so
And
much.
yes, thank you. I want to thank you for being here today and sharing your story. It was very interesting.
Well,
So
you're a fun person to be interviewed by too, because you ask the right questions at the right time. So that's perfect.
thank you. Thank you.